Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1717B, and today's date is November 15th, 2018, and the title of the episode is, This is Why Everything Needs to be Put in Place Before the Hammer is Dropped. Now, before we start, I wanted to talk about privacy on how the NSA, CIA, corporations are tracking and spying on us 24/7. We know hackers have the ability to access our computer, cameras, microphones. This Black Friday month, Virtual Shield is offering 40% off all VPN plans and all premium add-ons. And don't forget about IdentiSafe, which allows the customer the ability to block off computer, microphone, and camera access from any unwanted spies, hackers. Virtual Shield VPN is one of the easiest VPNs to use in the world. Their no-log policy protects its users from any data breaches. So check out the link below and start protecting yourself today, because we all have the right to remain private. Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. Now, the deep state, they do believe that they are in control. Now, they're pushing many agendas all at once, and this is all on purpose. And this is part of the plan. It's hard to see it, but it is part of the plan. Just because you don't see action in the mainstream media, which you're never going to see, doesn't mean things aren't happening behind the scenes. But think about what the deep state is doing right now. They're pushing events in California. Q has already confirmed this. We also see that the mainstream media is saying that the White House is looking chaotic right now, that people are quitting or being fired. They don't really have any sources, but Trump right now, he's changing up the administration, and he's continually doing this. And of course, people are saying, look at all the people that quit or were fired and things like that. Now, we look at it completely different than everyone else looks at it, because we see it as cleaning house, getting rid of the deep state. They see it as a chaotic White House, and Trump is a crazy man. But we need to remember, and we need to go back in time here. When Trump first came into office, remember, it wasn't just Democrats, it was Republicans. It was both. Because a lot of these players are one and the same. They have the neocons, they have the deep state, you have all these people within government. And they were dictating who should be in power. And remember, the deep state, they've been in power for a very long time. When Trump came into office, he was told who he should have by the neocons, the deep state. He went along with it in the beginning. Why? Because he didn't have the power as of yet. But as time went on, and he got rid of individuals like Comey, like Bruce Orr, like McMasters. Now, some were demoted, some resigned, some were fired. And the mainstream media, the deep state, they don't like this. They don't want this to happen because these are their players. And Trump is swapping them out for his players. Remember, he has an inner circle of 10. The rest are on the outskirts. So he has individuals that he trusts. Now, Trump tweeted out today the following, which I thought was very interesting, because we could see we're on the right track. The White House is running very smoothly, and the results for our nation are obviously very good. We are the envy of the world. But anytime I even think about making changes, the fake news media, and by the way, that's all caps, goes crazy, always seeking to make us look as bad as possible. Very dishonest. Yes, because what he's really doing is he's making changes and getting rid of the people they want in there. And when you start removing these deep state players, this pisses them off. So they tried to use the idea that the White House is chaotic. Trump is a loose cannon. He can't handle any of this because this is the only weapon they have. They don't have anything else. Now, very interestingly, on Wednesday, New York Times came out with an expose detailing Facebook's ham-handed attempts to deal with the Russian influence on their platform and a massive data harvesting scandal. Now, within all this, the article points out that Facebook hired a Republican PR firm, Definers, which cast liberal critics as operatives for liberal financier George Soros. Now, Facebook hired a Republican PR to cast liberal critics as operatives for liberal financier George Soros. To me, this entire piece that came out in the New York Times is using Facebook as the bad guy to clear George Soros's name and making him look like he's the victim. Remember when the bomber decided to send bombs to George Soros and all these other people, and we found out that they weren't really mail because the postage was not stamped, the bombs weren't real, and it just so happened that it went to all the Democrats, the people that were under investigation, and that was to get sympathy. I think what's happening here is they're doing the same thing, and they're using Facebook as the evil villain. Now, we know that Facebook, Google, and the rest were under fire because they were censoring, they had certain policies in place, and they were on Capitol Hill giving testimony, and certain social media platforms showed up and others did not. But what's very interesting is that this whole thing revolves around Soros, and Trump has been out there pointing the finger at Soros. Now, Soros responded to the New York Times article, and Soros's advisor, Michael Vacon, responded, stating, "It is alarming that Facebook would engage in these unsavory tactics, apparently in response to George's public criticism in Davos earlier this year of the company's handling of hate speech and propaganda on its platform. As you know, there is a concerted right-wing effort the world over to demonize Mr. Soros and his foundations, which I lead an effort which has contributed to death threats and the delivery of pipe bomb to Mr. Soros's home. You are no doubt also aware that much of his hateful and blatantly false and anti-Semitic information is spread via Facebook." So it looks like Soros is trying to play the victim card here, using Facebook as the bad guy. They don't care if Facebook or the rest stay in business or things like that. They will do whatever they have to protect themselves. And it looks like this piece in the New York Times was put there on purpose to protect him and to make it look like he's the victim of all of this. And everything that Trump is saying and everything that everyone else is saying in the world is all fake, phony, and false. Now, there are new classified documents that reveal the CIA, which is supposed to be strictly limited in the types of surveillance and other secret operations it conducts on U.S. soil, routinely monitored U.S. government computer systems. Wow, this is a surprise, or is it? I mean, we knew the CIA, the NSA, and all these different alphabet agencies. They've been spying on the other government employees, on people, to blackmail them and make them do what they want. Now, the information is contained in two formerly secret letters of congressional notification written in 2014 by the Intelligence Community Inspector General at the time, Charles McCullough. In the letters, McCullough reveals CIA secretly intercepted and collected emails between congressional staff and the CIA's head of whistleblowing and source protection. The collection was said to occur as part of the CIA's routine counterintelligence monitoring of government computer systems. Most of these emails concerned pending and developing whistleblower complaints, wrote McCullough in letters to lead Democrats and Republicans at the time on the House and Senate Intelligence Committees, which was Senator Dianne Feinstein, Senator Saxby Chambliss, Representative Mike Rogers, and Representative Dutch Ruppersberger. McCullough said he was concerned about the CIA's potential compromise to whistleblower confidentiality and the consequent chilling effect that the present counterintelligence monitoring system might have on intelligence community whistleblowers. And this we've heard before. They were tracking, listening in to whistleblowers. They didn't want anyone out there explaining, revealing what they were actually doing. So they were listening in and they were stopping these people. Now, something very interesting. We know since McCain passed away, we know that Senator Lindsey Graham, well, he is free to do what he needs to do. And it looks like he's following the orders of Trump and the Patriots. Now, Lindsey Graham has confirmed he would look into the FBI's handling of investigations into alleged Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's emails if he assumes chairmanship of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Now, he's out there saying that he would look into Hillary Clinton's email case. So, Judicial Watch right now, they have been running investigation, collecting information, collecting evidence on Hillary Clinton's private email. Now, the court right now ruled that Hillary Clinton must answer more email questions, including questions about the setting up of her email system. And this is coming from Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton. And he's saying that he's ready to hear all of this. Now, under oath in October 2016, near the end of 2016 presidential campaign, Clinton answered does not recall to 20 out of the 25 written questions regarding her private email server. However, in 2018, with a new attorney general in place, the feeling in D.C. is that the noose is slowly tightening around Clinton's neck. We know that what's going to happen here is that the indictments, they are going to be unsealed. The FISA is going to be declassified. People are going to be brought in. Now, once again, there are certain things that need to happen before all of this can go down. And what you're seeing right now out in the mainstream media, because a lot of people are saying, oh, look what's happening here. The Democrats, the deep state, they're taking control. They're using election fraud. Oh my God, nothing's being done. No one's stopping them. They're just allowing this to happen. Yes, we discussed this before. We know Trump's executive order with voter fraud and voter interference allows 45 days after the election for DHS to gather all this information, gather the evidence, make sure they have all this information so they can put together a report. They're going to take that report and use it against all these individuals. They want them to commit the fraud. They want them to do this. Because why not catch them in the act? Why not let them do what they do best? Now, remember what Sun Tzu says. Appear weak when you are strong. Who's in control? The patriots. The mainstream media is out there. They think they're in control. Trump is out there, and it looks like Trump, the patriots, are weak. And this is the perception. So Sun Tzu says, appear weak when you are strong, and strong when you are weak. So right now, he's letting everyone believe that he can't do anything about this. Another one from Sun Tzu. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. Think about this for a sec. Letting the deep state do what they do best, committing voter fraud, he will subdue them without doing that much. He's letting them do all the work. So Trump right now is dropping breadcrumbs, getting the public used to hearing about Mueller, Clinton, and the rest. Now, he does this on purpose. He puts tweets out there because he wants the mainstream media to pick it up. He wants people to read them out on the mainstream media outlets. And he wants people to joke about them. And the reason why he does this is because in your subconscious, you hear this. You might not believe it at the time. We believe it. We understand what's going on. But those people who are making jokes about it, they're hearing it, but they're not believing it. But he wants them to hear it for a specific reason. That is because when the truth comes out, and the proof, the evidence, they're going to start thinking to themselves, well, wait a minute. I remember parts of this. I remember a little bit of this. Let me just look into this a little bit. It's not going to happen to every single person, but many of them will do this. So Trump tweeted out the following. The inner workings of the Mueller investigation are a total mess. They have found no collusion and have gone absolutely nuts. They are screaming and shouting at people, horribly threatening them to come up with the answers they want. They are a disgrace to our nation and don't care how many lives they ruin. These are angry people, including the highly conflicted Bob Mueller, who worked for Obama for 8 years. They won't even look at all the bad acts and crimes of the other side. A total witch hunt like no other in American history. Here's another tweet. Universities will someday study what highly conflicted and not Senate-approved Bob Mueller and his gang, if you notice, he put it not Senate-approved because they're complaining about Whitaker, about not being Senate-approved. Well, Mueller is not Senate-approved. And his gang of Democrat thugs have done to destroy people. Why is he protecting crooked Hillary, Comey, McCabe, Lisa Page, and her lover Peter Strzok, and all of his friends on the other side? The only collusion is that of the Democrat with Russia and many others. Why didn't the FBI take the server from the DNC? They still don't have it. Check out how biased Facebook, Google, and Twitter are in favor of the Democrats. That's the real collusion. Now, people are out there and they're saying we should just go right ahead and get these individuals. Bring them to justice. Well, think about this for a second. Q has already told us from the very beginning. If you have corrupt judges, corrupt people in the House, corrupt people in the Senate, corrupt people around the world, corrupt mainstream media, do you really think anything's going to happen? No. What the deep state has done, they set up a shield. And this is called criminal intent. And you need to go back in time with Comey, Clinton, because think about it. Everyone's saying, we need to get these people. I want to see arrests. Well, Comey was in a position to investigate Hillary. And what happened? Nothing. Why? Oh, that's right. Because you had corrupt people in there that were protecting these individuals. You couldn't do anything if these people are in power. You need to remove them first. That's number one. Secondly, they use something called intent as a shield. So if you pause, and this is coming out of the Conservative Treehouse, which did a great job in explaining this. If you pause for a few minutes and look at every recent headline, intent, not consequence, is now the larger shield being applied toward excusing the action of people within institutions of government and society. Hillary Clinton was not guilty because James Comey said they couldn't prove intent. Recent Department of Justice releases highlighting decline to prosecute all surround intent, illegal alien entry, and accountability for fraud, all downplayed because there's no proof of intent. In the larger picture, the focus of intent, a specific decision made within the administration of justice, has become a shield against consequence. This is how they get around it. This is what they use to say, there's nothing here. There's no intent. Let me continue. It was a mistake. He, she, it made a poor decision. But there was no intent. So we don't need to look at this. A pattern of obfuscation, downplaying consequence, and allowing those decision makers charged with delivering accountability to withdraw or apply the rules of law based on their individual overlay of intent. That shift is factually visible everywhere now. And we can see it. And they still use it. They use it as a shield. Considering the use of intent as a shield, we review this recent example. Florida. Last week, a top attorney in the Department of State wrote a letter to 3 Florida federal prosecutors that asked them to review irregularities related to mail-in ballots. The department included information that showed that voters were given the wrong deadline to fix any problems with those ballots. Their letter alleges that voters in at least 4 counties, Broward, Santa Rosa, Citrus, and Okaloosa, appear to have received the altered forms. For example, if a voter's signature on the ballot envelope was missing or did not match the signature on file, they were notified by supervisors that they had until Monday, November 5th, to fix their signature. The altered forms some voters allegedly received listed November 8th, 2 days after election, as the deadline to fix the signature. Email chains provided by the Department of State included addresses that match the Florida Democratic Party and a phone number that is an active number for the Florida Democratic Party on the altered forms. The Division of Elections has provided the information to federal prosecutors in the northern, middle, and southern districts of Florida, and now the Justice Department will determine if any laws were broken. Following along the ideological lines of all actions are justified, do you see how the shift to intent is a serious issue within a corrupt system? Within that system, and against that purposeful filter and determination, plausible deniability becomes the construct for intentional criminal engagement. The voter didn't intend to violate the law. Therefore, no law was violated. The Democrats who sent the fraudulent instructions didn't intend to violate the statute. Therefore, no statute was violated. Everyone just well made a big mistake, and we can't prove intent. So think about this for a second. The purpose of gathering evidence, the purpose of investigating, the purpose of really digging deep is to prove intent. Do you think Comey, when he came out with that line saying that there was no intent on Hillary Clinton's part, do you really believe that he dug down deep and he investigated and found everything that he needed? No. He used that as a shield. Hey, we can't find anything. There's no intent here. So if there's no intent, there's nothing here. It was just an accident. Something she overlooked. Same thing with the voting fraud. Why do you think they are gathering evidence, making sure the investigations are closed so there's no leaks, so they can prosecute all of this later? Because they have to get over the shield of intent. They have to show that these individuals intended to do this. This was not a mistake. This was not by accident, but they willfully went ahead knowingly that this was against the law. It was treasonous. And this is what is happening right now. Intent is one element that must be proven beyond a reasonable doubt in order to convict for most crimes. I mean, there are a few exceptions. This is one of the reasons most investigations take so long. A preponderance of evidence must be gathered that would make a reasonable and prudent person believe that the person intended to and did commit the crime. That's why you just can't come out and say, hey, let's prosecute them. Hey, let's bring them to justice. This is why everyone with their emotions are screaming and yelling. Think logically. Think logically. What has to happen? We've been so entrenched in the deep state propaganda, we forgot how to think logically and what it really takes to investigate and gather evidence. Remember, this is not propaganda. This is not, hey, North Korea hacked Sony, we found the proof in one day, we know it all. No, that was a false flag. That was a setup. Oh, passports are on the ground. They're not even burnt in 9/11. No, that was a setup. This right now is following the rule of law to get past the intent shield. And this is what they are doing behind the scenes. And just because you don't hear it, because there's no leaks, if you notice, doesn't mean it's not happening. Believe me, there's a lot happening behind the scenes. Think about North Korea, for instance. Months went by where everyone did not realize that there were peace talks being hammered out behind the scenes. No clue. And then all of a sudden, everyone was shocked. Wait, there's peace? What's going on here? Something just happened? Everyone thought we were going to war with North Korea. And everyone didn't realize what was going on. So there's a lot more going on behind the scenes. You need to think logically of why all of this is happening and all the people that need to be put into place. Now, what's very interesting is that it looks like the deep state, they are getting very, very nervous with what is happening in Syria. Now, James Jeffrey, U.S. Special Representative for Syria Engagement, is out there saying that the Syrian government is directly responsible for creating the Islamic State. Now, first of all, this is absolutely ridiculous. But here's the explanation. The Syrian regime produced the Islamic State, the diplomat said. He was speaking at a press conference. The elements of the Islamic State in the hundreds probably saw an opportunity in the total breakdown of civil society and of the upsurge of violence as the population rose up against the Assad regime. Well, first of all, the people didn't rise up against Assad. This was a planned overthrow of a government by the intelligence community, by the deep state. Let me continue. And the Assad regime, rather than try to negotiate or try to find any kind of solution, unleashed massive violence against its own population. Gee, that's why everyone's coming back to the country. This is why everyone voted for Assad, because he tortures them, kills them, and people like it, and that's why they're returning in droves and voting for him. Does that make any sense? And that's why when the towns and villages were liberated, they said, oh my God, we lived under terror every day from the Islamic State, from the rebels, from Al-Qaeda. Let me continue. That created a space for the Islamic State to recruit people, to protect people to some degree, ironic as it sounds, from the depredations of the Assad regime. And very soon, Islamic State had an army of 35,000 troops and had seized big chunks of both Iraq and Syria. Oh, the lies that we spin. First of all, the Islamic State was created by the intelligence agency. They were funded by the oil convoys, which went up into Turkey. Erdogan and his son sold the oil that they received from the Islamic State. At the time, Obama showed and told and pointed to the targets where the military should bomb, and that was nowhere near the Islamic State. Under the Obama regime, the Islamic State grew and grew and grew. They never could find the oil convoys. It was completely impossible until Russia stepped in, and they said, well, there they are, plain as day. We're going to hit them, and we're going to get rid of their funding. That's exactly what they did. And then all of a sudden, Russia was able to go after the Islamic State. They knew exactly where they were, and they started to push them back. Trump came into office and put the Pentagon back into the position where they picked the targets. And when this happened, what did we see happen? The Islamic State shrunk and shrunk and shrunk. And guess what? The Syrian forces were fighting the Islamic State. They were fighting Al-Qaeda. They were fighting all of these terrorist groups that the deep state, the coalition forces, put into place. They're trying to cover up what happened in Syria because the war is coming to an end. And whenever the war comes to the end and there's a losing side and a winning side, and the winning side happens to be Russia and Assad, the truth is going to start to come out. They're trying to protect themselves. It's not going to work. The deep state is in trouble. And you can see they're trying to spin these ridiculous things. So what happens next here? Well, it looks like Trump and the Patriots, they're going to let the deep state, what they do best, continue with what they're doing. They're going to be gathering evidence, making sure they have everything, getting ready to push the D-class, push the indictments, show voter fraud, and expose the entire operation using the rule of law. Now, before I forget, don't forget to follow me on Minds. That is Minds.com. It is free to join, and actually, by commenting and posting, you will earn cryptocurrency. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.